So it's nice and early. It's about 5:30 in the morning. We were heading to the train station to catch our train. I guess we're going this way to Rome. Gonna spend the whole day in Rome. So we made it onto our train for Rome. It leaves here in about 15 minutes. We did spring for the business class seats. So they are leather seats that recline, and we get a little snack and beverage. This train, it's a bullet train, so it only takes about an hour to get to Rome. So we should, an hour and a half to get to Rome. So we should get into Rome right about 7:30, 7:45. And then our first stop after we get to Rome is going to be the Trevi Fountain, followed by the Pantheon, and then the Colosseum. Made it to our destination in Rome. We're getting ready to pull into the Rome station, and then we're going to find our way out of the Rome station to the Trevi Fountain. Right on time, just like a Swiss clock. Anyway, the train is coming to a stop, so this is our stop to get on. So we're on our way to the Trevi Fountain. The train ride was actually pretty nice. We got business class seats, so they brought us a little snack to eat. Yeah, snicky snack, which was just a cookie and like a little pastry and a shot of coffee. But for, I think it was like less than $40 for both a sip of coffee. It was espresso. For less than $40 for both of us, that was a pretty good deal. The only downside being we had to leave our hotel at 5 o'clock this morning. But we're now in Rome. We're going to spend all day here before we get back on the train tonight. Like I said, we're on our way to the Trevi Fountain. Hopefully it's not going to be too busy at 8 o'clock in the morning. And then from the Trevi Fountain, we're headed over to the Pantheon. From the Pantheon, we're hitting the Colosseum. And then that is our last scheduled activity for the day. The rest of the time, today we'll just kind of be wandering through Rome, exploring, seeing what it's like. So far, now that we're not in the train station, it's not horribly busy. There's not too many tourists, though Alex says I stick out like a sore thumb. That's okay. I'm not too worried about being a tourist in Rome. I feel like I'll be in good company here. I'm not sure what's going on, but they've got the area around the Trevi Fountain locked down this morning, and it doesn't look like they're letting anybody through. So I'm not sure if it's a political thing, if it's a fountain thing, or what. But we're currently trying to see if there's a workaround so we can somehow get close to the fountain and at least see it. But I'm not sure how this is going to go. Looks like they're doing some sort of filling project or something, so we weren't able to get close at all. And as soon as we got there, they actually started pushing back the line. So we're off to our next stop, which is the Pantheon. Hopefully we'll have better luck there, but at this rate, there's no telling. Alex is very disappointed that she didn't get to see the Trevi Fountain, but hopefully we'll be able to make it back there today. So we made it to the Pantheon. There's already quite a bit of foot traffic here. It doesn't actually open for another almost 10 minutes, but the lines are getting long. The tours are starting. We have to go collect our tickets. We have an entry time of 9:30. We're not in the tour, we're just doing this by ourselves. I can't imagine we're going to spend that much time in there. We were just offered a tour, and it was going to be about a 45-minute tour. So if that's a 45-minute tour, I imagine we're going to get through there a lot quicker. It's not a very big building, but nonetheless, we do want to see it. So we're going to go collect our tickets, and then we'll head inside. Left the Pantheon area. We did the private tour, or just a regular ticket into the Pantheon. You could have done a tour, but we really didn't feel the need. We spent maybe 15 minutes in there. There's not a lot to see. It's just a rotunda, and once you kind of walk the loop once or twice, you can be done. The Pantheon was built as a temple to Zeus, Mars, and Julius Caesar. But over time, it got turned over to the Catholic Church, who turned it into a resting place for saints and martyrs. So during that time, or the time it got turned over to the Catholic Church, that's when they moved a lot of bodies into there, and that's where they're entombed. So that appeared to be most of what the tours were. So if that's your thing, if you want to learn about that, great, do a tour. Otherwise, like I said, you can probably do it in about 15 minutes. Just take a couple loops around the rotunda, see everything, take your picture, and leave. Not something you have to spend a whole lot of time at. Now actually back on our way to the Trevi Fountain. Hopefully they're done doing the filming or whatever it was they had going on there. So fingers crossed we're going to be able to get in and see that. We still have about 2 hours before we actually have to be at the Colosseum. So if we can't go to Trevi, I don't know, we might find someplace to have a coffee and a pastry in case our train snacks are not holding us over. The Trevi Fountain is everything you see on social media. It is incredibly busy. It's almost impossible to get a picture in front of the fountain. You can see it kind of there behind me. It's just a crowd of people. Alex is a little upset. There's her upset face. We're trying to take a picture and people are just they'll stand on the front of the rail, not really being considerate, but it is what it is. It's a very touristy place. You can't be surprised by the things that the tourists will do. Now we can say we've seen it, we've got our pictures, and we're going to continue on. A few thoughts on the Trevi. Like I said earlier, it's very touristy, like you will see on all of social media. So keep that in mind if you're wanting to visit there and see that. You know, people say go early, go late. We were limited by time today as we didn't get into Rome until 8 a.m. So we obviously couldn't get there any earlier than we did. And then of course it was shut down. So we made the best of the situation. We're on our way to the Colosseum now. About an hour and 10 minutes before we have our entry into the Colosseum. So we're right outside that Colosseum, and there's a whole line of people to get inside. Luckily, we bought a time ticket for 11:30, so that's in about half an hour. I would highly recommend if you're going to come here and see this that you do a timed entry. Otherwise, you're going to have to deal with all that. We are in the line to get inside. We're actually inside the Colosseum right now, and it's pretty impressive so far. So I'm really excited for what we're going to see in here. They let you in about 10 minutes early, so that's good to know. Our tickets were for 11:30, but it was hot standing out in the sun, so we wanted to be inside. So it's much, much cooler in here. So we wrapped up our trip to the Colosseum here. It's actually pretty spectacular, pretty impressive. You start out on the inside of the Colosseum and you kind of learn the history of it and what it's been over the years, and then you come out to the outside or the balustrades area where you can look down into the arena, and it is spectacular despite being in pretty rough condition for almost 2,000 years old. It is still impressive nonetheless. Definitely worth a visit. We've spent here about an hour and a half, and that's been plenty of time for us to visit and see everything that we wanted to see and do. You can take a guided tour. Again, we did not opt to do that. There's plenty of information written on posters and signs to give you all the history that you would want. We have left the Colosseum after about 2 hours, which we really kind of took our time and just wandered and took a bunch of pictures. So easily would have been able to knock that out in about an hour and a half. The sun has finally decided to come out here in Italy, and it's hot today. I think the high today is like 85, and there is no shade on the outside part of the Colosseum. So once you're inside, you're under the columns, it's not bad, but once you kind of go outside and look at the amphitheater and all that, you're standing out in the sun. So keep that in mind. It'll be sun, rain, whichever. Now we're gonna head back, kind of back towards the middle of Rome, see if we can find some food. And then from there, we might come back down and visit the forums. We haven't really decided what else we're gonna do with our day. But the Pantheon, the Trevi, and the Colosseum were our big ticket items. And now that we've got those knocked out, we still have about 6 hours before our train back to Florence. So we are going to find some things to do to take up our time. First and foremost though, food, something to drink, and a bathroom. So we just finished our lunch, had a nice little break from being out in the sun and the heat. We're now walking back towards...
That's the bike you and I need.
That's a bike you need. We're now walking back towards the Colosseum to hopefully go see the forums.
So we are at the forums, which is...
What is this?
You don't even know.
It's the Roman Forum. This is where all the Roman business was conducted during Roman times.
Yes.
So,
it looks like a graveyard for Roman statues.
but as you can see, there's a lot of ruins here.
It's crazy the amount of ruins. It's crazy the amount of ruins in one city. Like, I mean, wow. Rome was literally built on.
It was not built in a day, but we are visiting it in a day. So it's good to know that entry to the Roman Forums is free if you hold a ticket for the Colosseum. Otherwise, you have to buy a specific ticket for the forums. So we had a ticket for the Colosseum, which we already visited. So we got into the forums for quote unquote free. Now it doesn't cost any more if you have a ticket for the Colosseum. It's not like you have an additional charge. But if you do buy both tickets separately, you will have that extra cost. So as long as you're going to be here, you might as well go to the Colosseum as well, save yourself a little bit of money. It is important to know that the forums also don't have timed entry. Now, it is a very large place, so I don't anticipate there being that much of an issue, but you just kind of come whenever you want. Once you validate your ticket, you have 24 hours to visit both sites. So we validated our ticket when we went to the Colosseum this morning, so we had 24 hours to visit the forums. Now, we could have visited the forums last night and the Colosseum today, or vice versa, but here we are. We're doing it all in one day. So we're going to walk around, see what there is to see. Even though it's ruins, it is still...
It's pretty cool. Excuse me, it reminds me of Athens a lot.
Athens or Heraclion.
But I mean, all of that is very closely interconnected anyway. So.
Yeah. So, but we're going to go wander around and see what we can see. We've been in the forums for about a little over an hour so far, and I'd say we've only just now scratched the surface of what this has to offer.
Now we got distracted by the Colosseum again.
Yes, we did. We did find our way back to the Colosseum, but
yes, it's behind us. Hey, look, it's a palm tree.
Yeah, a lot of history here. Definitely worth coming to see this part of it. It gives a little more insight into just what Rome was like over the centuries. In the Temple of Romulus, there were depictions dating back to the 1500s, I want to say. Kind of showed the evolution of the Roman forums over the decades or over the centuries, and that was really, really interesting, really eye-opening. So this has been a worthwhile trip. Definitely coming to Rome. Should be on your list of things to do. I don't know that you'll need more than a day. It really depends on how much time you want to spend here. You could probably spend 1 or 2 days here in Rome.
See what you want to see.
Right.
I mean, we've made a full day out of it, and we're into our last little bits.
Yeah, we've got about 3 hours left before we got to head back and catch the train. So we're probably gonna continue to walk around here at the forums, and then we'll see what else we find to do before we head back. So, all right, we're gonna go see what else.
Say goodbye to the Colosseum.
This will probably not be the last time you see it. Leaving the Roman forums. We've spent a solid almost 3.5 hours there and only hit maybe half of that. And that wasn't even really a whole lot of reading. That was probably my favorite visit, next to visiting Greece and like Knossos and those places. It just offers you unlimited history. And it's something that most everybody is familiar with. Everybody knows about the Roman times. So being able to come here and see those things are pretty neat.
I feel like the city has been the most accurate as to what movies portray. You know what I mean?
So tourist-wise, this actually hasn't been bad. Yes, the Colosseum was busy. Yes, the forums were busy. But both of those places are so spread out that it's really difficult to be in anybody else's way. So in that regard, it wasn't that big of a deal. Pantheon was a little bit crowded this morning, as was the Trevi Fountain. But both of those places are smaller, and obviously for the Trevi, you don't have to have tickets or anything to get in, so that's free and open to everybody. Not to say that tickets for the Colosseum were expensive. I think combined our tickets were $24, so not horribly expensive, or 24 euros. So not horribly expensive for two of us for the Colosseum, and of course we got the forums thrown in for free on that. So as we're walking back to the train station, we decided we probably ought to stop and get some gelato. And our gelateriaist, our gelato barista, had some really good recommendations. This is a pineapple, ginger, and mango blend. It's really good. And Alex got the chocolate cheesecake.
Not really. It's like a mango-y cherry chocolate cheesecake.
But anyway, we're going to continue on to the train station eating our gelato because that's what you do. And then who knows what we're going to do. We decided not to go to the Louis store, but we still have to find a coffee mug before we head back. But first, a sweet treat. One thing I have noticed walking here in Rome is that it has been probably one of the cleanest cities that we've been to in a while. France wasn't bad, or Paris wasn't bad. Barcelona was very, very trashy. I don't remember much about Madrid. But as you look around, there's not trash piled everywhere for the most part. You don't see litter in the streets. You don't see pieces of paper, except for that piece there. You don't see just piles of trash. You don't see dumpsters overflowing. So, in that regard, very clean. I give it high marks for cleanliness, among other things. Back at the train station. We are getting ready to board our train. It is just coming into the station now. There it is. Alright, let's go find our coach.